there, welcome back to No Pants Profits. My name's Richard, and I just got back a few days ago from the Southern Italy Escape by Globus. And you might be looking at this saying, what is this? I'll tell you what it is it's actually a lower price tour that's offered during the off-season all over the world by Globus. And I will tell you the value is 5 out of 5. But what I want to do is I want to give you an idea of what this tour is, show you every step of the tour over the next 40 minutes, and kind of a narrated tour of the tour and a review. And we'll come back together at the end and talk about what it's worth in the on-season, what it's worth in the off-season, and everything like that. So join along with me as we take a look at the Southern Italy Escape by Globus. Alright, so first off, it's time to talk about the actual price of the tour. Now, when I booked the tour, my travel agent just said, hey, do you want to go to Italy for $1,299? I went on the $1,299 departure, which is pretty much just at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season, and I paid no single supplement for 9 days in Italy. Well, the 9 days is a bit fuzzy math because they count the first day, they count the last day. It's really about 7 days in the scheme of things. But you can see the dates. It does vary depending mainly on airfare and hotel prices. So you'll see they are going up a bit now, but they are still $12.99 in December of 2023. This is being recorded in March of 2023. And it really does depend on the airfare prices. So you'll see right now the airfare is a little bit higher. But I just got back about 3-4 days ago where it's a little bit lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reconfigure the airfare. Give me just a minute to figure out how to do that. I'm going to reconfigure the airfare for the December timeframe because you see right now it's about $1,200 for the airfare. If we do go into December where it's cheaper, we're going a day before, a day after the actual trip starts, or leaving on the day that the trip ends, you can see where it's cheaper. You'll see we're looking at about $600, $700 in airfare, and that's how you can get to that $1,300 price, because even if you were to take a look at hotels, which we're going to do in a second, the hotels are about $100-ish a night, depending on the hotel, I'm just giving you an average. The hotels are around $100-ish a night. So, you're looking at 9 nights plus the airfare plus everything like that. You're already in the green before you start including the 4 meals, before you start including the breakfast, before you start including the admission to places like Herculaneum and the museums and everything like that. You are coming out ahead. As I said before the trip, I really had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I took 2 flights over from Miami, was greeted by a Globus agent right when I got there, and started the first day, which was a arrival in Sorrento. We made a great stop by Vesuvius Lookout on the way, and it was a bit of a rougher ride through the mountains and through the twisting areas and stuff like that. But our tour director met us right at the airport shuttle. And we were at the Hotel Astoria on the first night, which is a great hotel right in the middle of Sorrento. And I've got these 360 clips that you can see of all the hotel rooms, so you can see kind of quaint, kind of really yellow, and the bed was kind of hard, but it was kind of a unique place to be at that point in time. And you'll see we even got a bathroom. Let's see. We got a bathroom that they've included a little dog bowl in, but you can see it's dated. It kind of looks like it's from my grandma's house, but it's really, really quaint. And I will tell you, I say quaint, but one of the absolute nicest parts of the whole thing was actually this terrace right here. We had every single room had its own private terrace. You can go out on the terrace and see everything that's going on. So it's taken with the Insta 360 camera, which we will revisit a little bit later, and I'll tell you, I've got some other clips from that. After we got to our hotel room, we met our tour director, Luca, and this is where he gave us our luggage tags and also did a pitch for the optional shore excursions, which I did all of them, and gave us these little listening devices that you do. And what happened is, once we had the listening devices and everything, we'd have these things posted in the hotel that would tell us when and where to be every single day. Dinner the first night was actually included at this great restaurant, and I'm going to kind of let you experience, because I was blown away by this restaurant. This was like the nicest restaurant we went to included in the tour. I want to let you experience this restaurant in all of its glory. So I'll be back with you in just a second. Take a look around. I will tell you the meal as well as the service on that first night were fantastic. We had an antipasta, we had a pasta dish, we even had salad before the entree, and we had a choice of 3 different entrees. I went with the veal, and a great lemon dessert because we were in Sorrento, the home of limoncello. So this is a time lapse from my balcony on the beginning of day 2. Again, I tell you, I didn't really do much research on this tour. I just thought, hey, $1,300 tour, let's do it. You know, the airfare and the hotels pay for it. But, you know, I was looking forward to every single day that came about. This is actually shot over a period of a few hours, but this is actually the view of the courtyard in Sorrento. You'll see the oranges, you'll see everything like that. This is probably one of the most beautiful views that we had of the entire trip. I woke up about 6 o'clock in the morning because of fun jet lag. So be aware of fun jet lag that you may have over this trip if you're coming from the United States. All right, day 2, Saturday the 18th. And what we've got right now is this gave us, we had this posted in the hotel every day that gave us an idea of when breakfast was when we were departing from the hotel. Now today consisted of 2 optional excursions. So if you did not, this is day 2, if you did not book one of the optional excursions, which all of them together were like $270, so not bad, you weren't really going anywhere with the group today, except for a small tour that's not listed on here of actual Sorrento. But I did both of these, so let's go along for a ride along the Amalfi Coast to charming Positano first. But before that, breakfast. I learned something about an Italian breakfast, if you're a breakfast lover, is Italian breakfasts are far more sweet than savory. What you're going to notice is we're going to talk about breakfast a few times, and you'll notice that they never have bacon. I love bacon, but Italians don't seem to know how to actually make bacon. All they have is very sweet stuff, and then eventually I think some cold cuts actually showed up, which are a little bit less sweet overall. So for the first 4 of the paid excursions of the trip, we went along the Amalfi Coast. We didn't have our big bus yet, so we took a tiny little bus, especially which should have taken a tiny bus along these winding little roads and went towards Amalfi. And you'll see here's a time lapse showing you our way towards Amalfi. We saw a giant rock that I correctly guessed they call the head of Abraham Lincoln, but you'll see you've got these 3 little islands, and we're in a small bus. This is not for the faint of heart. If you don't like roller coasters, windy roads, things like that, this is not your tour. Let's be brutally and really brutally honest. This is not your tour if you don't like a bus to go whirring. If you're looking at this and you're getting sick just looking at this video, number 1, I apologize, but number 2, I want to show you this so you understand what the actual ride is like along the Amalfi Coast. We did have a lot more sunshine on the way back, but unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of the bus to take a video there. It was a very small bus, but we made a stop at a lookout right here, and you'll see what the lookout looks like. So here's me at the lookout above the town of Positano, and we went down into Positano, but that is the town of Positano, and we went down into Positano, but we got this little fruit stand we had on our stop was actually really great, and this is the town of Positano. Now, I do have another video that you can see that actually shows this whole town in full 360-degree video, and it's really kind of cool, but this is the beach, which is a black sand beach, and here is a great pano of the beach right there in Positano, and the town, and the church, and everything. So our next stop was actually going back to Sorrento. And when we got back to Sorrento, we could either relax in the hotel or take a little tour with Luca, our tour director, who gave us a little tour. Now, a lot of people got into Sorrento a few days before, and getting into Sorrento a few days before getting the ability to explore. So out of our 27, only 3 people actually went on the little tour of Sorrento. And, you know, there were 3 of us that went on a tour of Sorrento here. And you could see they even had some French fries. And, you know, when someplace only has one thing, I decided to eat them. These are really good French fries in Sorrento. And on this second evening, we went on our second optional excursion to the family farm dinner. We did take a different, smaller bus. We didn't have our main bus yet, but we drove right out of Positano, and we drove to a agricultural kind of farm that is for agro-tourism. They actually have the cows that are making the milk there, they make the mozzarella with. They grow their own lemons for the limoncello. We got an introduction to how they grow lemons in Italy, why Sorrento is the best place to grow lemons, and this is actually one of the owners that's giving us this tour, and we took a tour of the whole farm. He explained how they made everything, and then we had dinner. So they actually had a special dining room that was set up just for us. And one of the first things we had was we actually learned how to make mozzarella cheese. We had a live demonstration of how to make mozzarella and then ricotta cheese. And I've got that on a separate video on the website. And then the cool thing is after they made that, we got to eat it. And this was a great starter dish there. We had 2 different types of pasta. And after the 2 different types of pasta, we had a giant meat plate that went in the middle of the table that they filled up multiple times, and some dessert. And believe it or not, after that dessert, we even got some limoncello made right there on the farm. So day 3 was more of a travel day than anything else, but everyone was involved. This was not an optional day, and it was our transit over to Bari through Trani. Again, they tried to make bacon, and yeah, they should just give up. And you know, then they tried to make coffee, American coffee. I don't drink coffee, but people said they should just give up. And we all met together. So this was the whole group, all 27 of us, and we finally got to our Globus bus. It's actually a Globus branded bus, which has Wi-Fi on board. You do have to put your bags if they have wheels below. It's Italian law, but plenty of room to spread out and everything, and full-powered plug outlets in there, so I could run my MacBook, I could charge all my batteries, and everything like that. And we were in transit to Bari by way of Trani, and guess what? We had to stop at a rest station because they don't have bathrooms you can use on board, but you can they have a bathroom, but not one you can use while it's moving. And I got me a pepperoni and a sandwich there. Next we got to Trani, where it was lunch on your own. We found a great little seafood restaurant with some kind of interesting beer. A lot of interesting beer over in Italy. Again, this was all on your own, but got a multi-course meal, which had some pasta. One of my next door neighbors got some sea urchin pasta, because that was supposed to be known as really good. And then I got a basket with some fried animals in it, sea animals. After that, we had a bit of a guided tour of the Trani area. The church is the little seaside town, really charming little seaside town. You can see some of the decorations and things like that, and it kind of looked a little bit out of Jaws, even though it was in Italy. You've got those fishing boats, and they don't know how big the shark is, but it was really cool. We got to walk around there, about a 45-minute tour, the church and everything like that, but you could see really cool thing. And then, you know, after you walk around the town a little bit, you know what it's time for. It's time for some gelato. So we stopped by the gelateria, got me some gelato right there, and enjoyed my gelato right in Trani on our transit over to Bari. And you can see our transit continued through the beautiful Italian countryside. And now it's time for our second hotel of the trip in the middle of Bari, Italy. You can see it's literally right in the middle of town. We can see beautiful 4 or 5-star hotel here. You can take a look at the lobby. That's actually not the lobby, that's the room. Kind of looked like it belonged on South Beach in Miami. Kind of Art Deco, really colorful and things like that. I love the wardrobe, loved all the colors there. Really quite cool, and a very spacious bathroom as well. These are not little tiny cheap hotels. These are actually 4 and 5-star hotels, which do kind of vary in their hauntedness along the way, as you'll see a little bit later. Tonight was actually dinner on your own, so I went out in the town, saw the giant Ferris wheel, which we will see in some other videos, had some beers, had some prosciutto and cheese, and even found myself some pizza, which is very different than American pizza. And yes, I found a tiki bar. You'd go, why are there tiki bars in Italy? You'll see there's actually a theme of tiki bars here. So a lot of different tiki drinks, a lot of different tiki cocktails. Overall, I wouldn't have expected to find tiki bars, or, believe it or not, spare ribs in Italy, or some other weird things like that. Took a little walk around town and came back to the tiki bar. And the best thing about tiki bars is fire. So yes, if you've never been to a tiki bar, highly recommend the tiki bar in Bari, Italy, which I went to 2 nights in a row. That's a little bit of foreshadowing there, but you can see the drink is on fire. Alright, so day 4 was an interesting day. We took a tour around Bari and went some different places again. This was posted every day, gave you breakfast, gave you an idea of everything that was actually going on today. And breakfast was in a really cool setting today, which is on the top of the building. So you could really see what was going on, see a lot of what was going on in Bari, Italy. And they really don't mess around with their breakfast over in Italy, which I like, because breakfast is included every day, and dinner's only included 4 of the 9 nights or 8 nights, and they even had chocolate and things like that. And we actually had a really good focaccia that was included at breakfast, and we started our tour of Bari. So we could see the old castle in Bari, and even learned about orecchiette. And one of the cool things is we saw how orecchiette was made.
No. Southern Italy doesn't use eggs. Northern Italy does use eggs. For example, lasagna, tortellini, tagliatelle is made with eggs. This pasta doesn't have eggs. The color is given by the flour, by the semolina itself.
And it's softer.
It is softer, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And you can see the dough that she has already made. Then she goes with the snake, and then from the snake, she cuts little pieces and she rolls down. She drags down the dough, and with the 2 fingers, she gives the rounded shape. It's very complicated. She's doing it slow right now, but usually she does it faster.
After seeing how orecchiette was made, we continued our tour, and we passed some fruit markets on the way to, believe it or not, Santa Claus. We actually went to the church where 70% of St. Nicholas, jolly old St. Nicholas's bones lie, and you know, his bones were there. I'm not a church guy much myself. It was kind of cool that the bones are actually in liquid every year. This is a Russian picture that was donated to the church, which is behind some bars right now. Really cool. And then we went and we had some bread, focaccia, sorry, I was going to say panini, focaccia tasting here. And we had some time on our own, so I went and saw the Real Bodies experience, which is kind of cool. They don't really show that in the US anymore. So this was not included in the tour, but this was in town in Bari for some time on your own, and I stopped for some local Italian food, which was McDonald's. I do love the ice cream holder, and I had some local Italian things. That was actually the only Parmesan I actually had on tour, but they had some McToast, which was better than what I had elsewhere, and some gyro as well. And it was our time to go to Abuleto, which is really cool. Probably one of the coolest places we went on the entire tour. Now, you'll see Lucas there taking payment for the optional excursions, and we've got Abuelo, which were these conical houses. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but they were actually built in this way so that they could not be taxed by the king. And they modernized it, put indoor plumbing and everything, but you'll see that these conical houses, there's hundreds of thousands of them, well, probably hundreds of them, and really, really cool views right there of the conical houses, and you can even rent them and stay in them if you wanted to. After that, we had an olive oil demonstration where we got to taste a bunch of different olive oils as well as vinegars. Really great presentation, kind of reminded me of a rug sale, Turkish rug sale over in Turkey. Really kind of a cool experience. And then after that, we had some time before dinner back on our own, and I went and I rode the giant Ferris wheel, which you can see in 360 degrees on this channel as well. Now for dinner in the hotel, which was included for everyone. So we had a pasta dish. See that pasta dish there, which was orecchiette, which is what we saw being made earlier. We had a meat dish, and we had some desserts. Take a snapshot of that dessert in your brain, because it's going to come back in a minute. And second night at the Tiki Bar, because why not second night at the Tiki Bar? Had some different tiki drinks, because you never have the same tiki drink twice, and a bit more fire. And even after the Tiki Bar, I had some local specialties with some horse meat sausage, which was a spicy horse meat sausage, which was absolutely delicious right there. Alright, day 5. It was time for us to kind of all take a tour around Lecce. So again, we had the description of what was going on for the day, and you noticed that was from dessert last night for breakfast. Even had fresh mozzarella at breakfast every day, pretty much everywhere. And look at this view from the top of our hotel in Bari. You can see that Ferris wheel, really quite cool. And what was cool is we had local guides when we were in a local situation. So we went all the way around Lecce, saw the different cool things that were available in Lecce, giant gate of the city in Lecce. A lot of these used to be surrounded by fortresses and things like that, and giant gates of the sorts. And you'll see one of the cool things that Lecce is known for is actually papier-mâché dolls. So they'd have these giant papier-mâché dolls all over, and they'd be making papier-mâché dolls. This is another one of the churches. Here's an idea of kind of the papier-mâché dolls and how they would do those. Another look a little closer at one of the papier-mâché dolls. Then we actually saw some ancient Roman ruins that were under the city of Lecce that they kind of excavated, and some time on your own for lunch, which, yes, that was very Americanized. That was actually really cool. 4 different types of chocolate, and I did get attacked by a pigeon because what is touristic touring without getting your food and yourself attacked by a pigeon. And even went ahead and found an Irish bar right in the middle of the city of Lecce. And for our next hotel, one of the most mainstream hotels was a Hilton. Who would have thunk it? But a Hilton Garden Inn that was right outside of the walled city of Lecce, about a 20-minute walk outside of the walled city of Lecce. Very modern, very, just kind of looked like a Hilton on the outside. And on the inside, you know, some Italian touches, but really just kind of looked like, per se, a Hilton there. We've got some more interesting hotels before and after this. And we've even got a little shot of the bathroom. Again, none of the bathrooms were tiny. I spent a lot of time on cruise ships, so I think I'm used to tiny bathrooms on cruise ships, but these bathrooms were in no way, shape, or form tiny. Alright, and next up we had Optional Excursion number 3, which was the olive oil dinner show. They actually showed us how they made olive oil. So they make their own olive oil at this place here. And it's, again, agricultural tourism. And we had a whole setup for dinner. So we had a bunch of their wines, a bunch of their olive oil, and, you know, we had some fried dough with olives and without olives. We had 3 different appetizers, which was really cool, a pasta dish, which was fantastic, and a pork dish, which they even sang a song about. And you'll say, what are you talking about singing a song about? Because this was dinner and a show. There's dessert, but let's take a look at some of the show. Now we get back to the hotel super early and I'd be like, hey, it's time to find another tiki bar. And I actually found a really, really cool tiki bar. Probably the coolest one I've ever found in the world, just right in the middle of the walled city of Lecce. I've got a 360 and a flat view of this tiki bar, like a normal view of this tiki bar if you want to see. Look, there's even a drink that had its own chair, and I had a chair, and the drink had a chair, and it really confused me, but really cool. I was not expecting, again, to find tiki bars in Italy. They even made me a dumb American drink. Yeah, here's a bit of a tour of the inside of the tiki bar, so you can see you kind of go from the old city to this really, really cool looking tiki bar. Again, this is on the channel in a much slower consumable format, so you can see it, but I wanted to give you an idea. This is better decorated than my local tiki bar, which is the Mai Kai here in South Florida, and I was totally not expecting that to be the case. Again, separate video on the channel gives you a whole tour. Alright, so for day 6 we were going to Matera. Again, we kind of had this layout that told us everywhere we were going, and again we had breakfast, which actually for once, no, it didn't have reasonable bacon. They still don't know how to make bacon. Or, you know, eggs for that matter. But we did actually get to go to another fun rest stop on the way, and I got some knockoff bugles if you're looking. Found some real bugles later on, and a vending machine called Miami, because why not a vending machine called Miami, and some secret slot machines in the back, and even some toys that were totally not licensed. If you take a look at the Ice Princess sisters right here, they are not members of the Frozen family. But then we got over to Matera. And when we got to Matera, it was right about lunchtime when we got to Matera, so we were allowed to go ahead and find some really cool places for lunch. I actually got I went to an antipasta bar, which you'll see in a minute. Got some cheese, got some wine, and everything like that. And you'll see there's my big old glass of wine. And here's kind of my intro starter with some cheese and other stuff like that. Then went to another place, got some beer, which was actually made in the back, and some lasagna. I will give you a warning, Italian lasagna has no cheese in it. Next it was time for our guided tour of Matera, which I didn't know is the oldest continually settled city in the world. And it's really cool. It's actually almost like a movie set. It is a movie set. It's where James Bond movies have been filmed, The Passion of the Christ, other things like that. Again, in the 360 section of this video, we've got some really cool views. Those are the caves. That's where people used to live in the, per se, cavemen days, and they built a city right on the cave. So you can see the city really coming up from that. Really unique, really cool. Again, they shot a whole bunch of movies there, the latest Daniel Craig James Bond film, and we got to go inside one of the houses there as well, and you got to see some really cool pictures that you would get from there, and some really interesting churches and symbols that exist there. But that is the old town of Matera. After touring the old town, we had some time on our own, and yes, those are Pringles in a antipasta, and I tried 3 different beers, one that doesn't belong there. Our next hotel on the tour, Hotel del Campo, probably one of the most haunted hotels on the trip, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, because there's really nowhere to be near the city of Matera, so it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's a night to just stay in, but you can see kind of a really kind of older architecture there, and yeah, a lot of us agreed it was haunted. It had hot and cold running chills, which means you get in the bathroom, the water would go hot, it would go cold, it would go hot, it would go cold, it would go hot, it would go cold. But you can kind of see, had a nice little bar area in the lobby, and that's the room. Kind of quaint, kind of unique, but if you did look out the window, it was in kind of a bad section of town. There was graffiti, there was stuff like that. This was probably the worst hotel of the trip, and yes, it looks pretty good, but I'll tell you, it was the worst hotel of the trip because, well, we took a little flight there just to give you an idea of what the 360 video can do. And there's the bathroom there. And you did have a gigantic key holder, which you'll see in a minute, but bathroom was reasonable, had a heated towel rack, and there's the gigantic key holder that you had to carry around and put in to turn on the lights. And since the hotel was in the middle of nowhere, we had another included dinner that night, which had a pasta dish, as is kind of normal all over Italy. Really nice pasta dish. Had a meat dish, and had a dessert after the meat dish that was so sticky you could hold it at 108 degrees, it wouldn't fall off the plate. But quite an interesting dessert nonetheless. Alright, so next up we had another one of those travel days, which had an optional excursion at the end of it. You can see again we have the information posted right here, and I will tell you this hotel, haunted hotel, actually figured out how to make bacon. There's some bacon under there somewhere. That's the first hotel that figured out how to make bacon. But we had a nice scenic drive going back north, and we stopped by another one of those random rest stops, and yes, the same day that a hotel finally made good bacon. I found some bacon Lay's chips myself, and I was very confused, questioning, and happy at the same time. We stopped by the hotel, but we were not able to check in yet because it was very early in the day, and we were told to go have lunch, try some local dishes, try some local-ish beers. Really quite interesting. I even had some white chocolate in a cup, which I call diabetes in a cup, but with these little cream puffs, mascarpones, whatever you want to call them there, but it was really quite an interesting lunch on your own. So this was the last of the optional excursions, which went to Herculaneum, which is kind of like Pompeii, but quieter and a lot better preserved than Pompeii. You can see there's the city, so they've kind of excavated the city there. There are some bodies there, but they're in a slightly different shape than Pompeii. And you could see the city from above. We got to see a boat that was actually preserved from the harbor of Pompeii, and they had a whole museum which had a lot of the statues and stuff that were actually inside of the houses. They didn't want people touching as much anymore, and here's an idea of what one of the houses looked like in the middle of Pompeii, a little bit more of the statues and things like that were in the museum. And not Pompeii, this is Herculaneum, my mistake. Supposedly where Hercules lived. Great tour guide that we actually had the next day as well. And you can see these are still intact. Mosaics on the floor, the university and different things like that. And you can see statues and all those other things still perfectly intact. After Herculaneum, we went to a cameo factory and saw how cameos were made. These are actually really intricate jewelry made on seashells, and they had some really cool ones and some poker ones as well, but a little too expensive for me. But as we were leaving the cameo place, there was a very foreshadowing picture that said, "Don't go close to the volcano," and guess what we did? Yep, even though the picture said not to, we went closer to the volcano. We went to some vineyards that were really close to the volcano for a wine tasting and a food tasting, and I just want you to see how close we were to the volcano. These vineyards are made where the volcano erupted. So they're actually very volcano-enriched soil, and they're making all kinds of wines and stuff like that, but the food there was fantastic, as is the picture there. So we actually had a full tasting dinner with like 12 different wines and a whole bunch of food. This was that was our first dish. And then they actually made spaghetti, which was the best spaghetti I've ever had in my entire life. Now, there was no meat dish, but the spaghetti was so good I didn't care. And there was dessert, and as we were leaving, I took 3 different pictures of Mount Vesuvius with an iPhone, a traditional camera, and a Samsung phone right here. So you can kind of see the difference in all of them. So now it's time to see the last hotel for our trip, which was the Star Hotel Terminus, located right by the train station in downtown Naples. You can kind of see the view that you can get from the rooftop of the Star Hotel Terminus, which you'll see, well, there's the Star Hotel. We're turning around, you're going to see the train station, as well as right from the hotel, you could see Mount Vesuvius. And then that's the inside of the hotel. Really kind of a 5-star hotel atmosphere. Really nice atmosphere. Really great place to hang out later in the evening, which I did on the first night. Even some tic-tac-toe, which you don't need instructions in Italian or in English because everybody knows how to play tic-tac-toe. There's a shot from above of there. And we've got the room itself. Nice and roomy. 4 or 5-star hotel. They don't lie when they say these are all 4 or 5-star hotels, except for the one last night, which was kind of haunted. Just saying. And you've even got a nice giant bathroom with a tub, believe it or not. But one of these, so you can see, you've got a tub, you've got a lighted mirror, you've got some really cool things. But one of the coolest features was actually the patio here, because it was actually a really cool balcony. And kind of, since it's in the middle of the city, this made you forget it was in the middle of a crowded city right by a train station, which was really kind of cool to have that ability right there to forget where you were. So for our last full day of the tour, it was in Naples, Italy. You can kind of see our rundown of the day as well, and we did have breakfast, our last breakfast, which I can really complain about bacon, which, again, they didn't do bacon right, but Italian breakfasts are meant to be sweet more than savory, but there's the bacon. You can see they had all kinds of different juices and things like that. And, again, I tried to pick the savory things because I'm not a sweet breakfast person, but they had the mozzarella, everything on there, and some really interesting graffiti on our way to the Archaeological Museum. This is where a lot of the stuff from Pompeii and Herculaneum wound up, and you can kind of see these amazing statues. This is the second best museum I've ever been to, the first best being the Hermitage in Russia because of how close you can get to everything, how it's not cordoned off, and how these statues are really just kind of out there. I don't want to say that you can touch them, but they are close enough. They're not really behind anything that you can touch them. These are over 2,000 years old. This statue is the most famous, the giant bull. And you can see these are legs that were replaced in a statue with new legs. You can see an erotic section. I'll leave that as it be. Another piece from the erotic section. And look at this. Look at the Center Hall. Again, second best museum I've been to after the Hermitage. And these great shopping malls we went to afterwards. Then we had some time on our own after going to those shopping malls. And I got to try fried pizza, which was kind of like an elephant ear meets lasagna. Real lasagna, American lasagna, because there was cheese in there. So elephant ear meets lasagna, really interesting dish. Then tried some pizza around town because we had some time on our own before we met up together at the hotel for a farewell dinner. Some really interesting graffiti all over town as well, and some more shawarma, because when you can't decide, shawarma is your friend, and some Che Guevara, Fidel Castro. And there's our last dinner at the hotel. So we had a pasta dish, we had some chicken, we had some weird mushroom-looking dessert, and here's me with Luca, our tour guide. Great tour guide overall. And yes, I did find a tiki bar on the last night of the trip, and it wasn't really a tiki bar, it was more of an underground pirate rum bar where they made their own rum and did things very, very dangerously with fire, things you should not even be able to do in the state. This is called a blue flame. This liquid is actually on fire. This has caused fires all over the states, so most places won't let you do this in the United States anymore, but yeah, that's a blue flame on fire liquid in the secret pirate bar. It's in the middle of Naples that I almost missed my flight due to, because I was there till about 2:30 in the morning, and the flight left at 3:45 in the morning. And speaking of flight, you can see our vacation ends with breakfast in the morning. The only thing edible in my 3 o'clock in the morning breakfast bag was some apple juice. Alright, so we spent the past 40 minutes or so going over the Southern Italy Escape by Globus. And like I said in the beginning, it is a 5 out of 5 stars in value. If you are worried about the money, again, just the flight over there and the hotel over there pays for everything, if you look at it. So you are getting one heck of a deal. But I will tell you, it's about a 3.5 to 4 out of 5 in overall value if price does not matter. Would I do it again? Yes, I would, and I actually have another Escape by Globus set up in about a month and a half or so. I will be going to Egypt. So this is actually a really cool one because it's got flights in the middle, it's got a cruise in the middle, it's actually really cool. It was about 1.5 times the price of this one, but it's Egypt, and yeah, it's right before Indiana Jones, the new Indiana Jones comes out, so I've never seen Egypt, I want to see Egypt, and of course, I'll be bringing you along. So feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like to learn about Globus's escape in Egypt, where we go up the Nile, around the Nile, and everything like that. But I will tell you, I will definitely be doing this as long as they have no single supplement, because I snore a bit, and my family does not like traveling with me in the same room. This is Richard from No Pants Profits, just finishing his first Globus tour, the Southern Italy Escape, reminding you that, hey, when you go on tour, you want to save money, and you wear no pants. There's only one thing you got left to lose. I think you all know what that is. It's your shirt. Have a great one. Bye.